What's up, boys and girls? This is SPITLOGIC, and today I'm going to do another movie review. War for the Planet of the Apes is a movie directed by Matt Reeves. It stars Andy Serkis as Caesar and Woody Harrelson as the Colonel. So, with a movie review, what we're going to go over is the cinematics, the script and the story, the performance, and the theme. What was this movie trying to say, and did it achieve it? So let's get started. So the cinematics were really good. It was a beautiful looking film. There was such a huge contrast, with different stages of the film, what it showed and what it tried to convey. You start off in the beginning in a very lush environment, and that was really to convey a kind of innocence, a kind of being able to hide and not to be seen. And then you go into this cold area, and it also set the mood for the coldness in Caesar's heart. And when you get to, the base where the ammunition depot where the Colonel was, you felt the grime, you felt the grit, you felt the confinement, in that area. So I like the sets. I like the way that they used it for each stage of the film. I think it was well filmed, and I love the camera angles. They did a good job of showing the environment that they were in and making it look very artistic. It had a very artistic feature to it. So I'm not the biggest fan of CGI. I think it needs to be used in a very limited form. But every single Planet of the Apes movie that they've had out of this trilogy, it's always stunning because you forget that you're watching CGI. Or you're not really sure. I mean, I know that they used in some parts, real life individuals. They used animatronics on some parts, and some parts were CGI. You could tell some of them, but some of them you were just questioning yourself. And, I've gone back and looked at the first one. I've looked at the second one, and part of me can tell that it's CGI, but the way that it was done, the way that they didn't overdo what these characters were doing, it allowed you to look at it and not even think about the CGI. I feel like, it's 2017. We've been doing CGI since the 80s, and it all still looks pretty much the same. I mean, there's more detail, there's more texture involved, but it still looks, I guess, weightless is kind of the word that I'm looking for. It does not look like it's part of the screen, with the exception of this film. I'm looking at it, I'm seeing what's going on, and there are times I have to question myself again. Is that animatronic or is that CGI? I just think they did a very seamless job of making that happen. So the script, the storytelling in it, it was pretty good. I mean, the film was exciting. The film, the story moved forward. It made you become invested in all the characters that were involved. I did not like some of the choices that were made in order to push the story along. And what do I mean by that? So there was a point where they were trying to follow or track down where the soldiers were located, to track down the Colonel. And they just happened to stumble upon information onto where exactly they were. There was a point where, there was an escape plan that had to be hatched. And it just so happened that something else happened which allowed them to be able to escape. Even towards the end of the film, where Caesar is essentially about to be killed, this amazing natural thing happens that ensures that he is able to escape. So some of these things happen. I didn't like it, but I was able to excuse it because for the most part, the story went pretty well. I think that giving Caesar the right kind of motivation for him to do the things that he did was accurate. I also think that at the same time, the motivations that kept Caesar alive throughout the film were not necessarily there. I knew in my heart that Caesar was going to exist throughout the film and see the film to the end. And it didn't really resonate with me when there were these circumstances where he could have been killed. This is one thing I hate. I hate when a villain is in front of the hero, and to prove how ruthless he or she is, they kill someone or kill something or destroy something. But the one thing that is the biggest threat, they don't do that. And why? What is the purpose of that if you are not willing to destroy or kill the character? This concept of I am going to torture everyone but you just for my personal satisfaction, it just doesn't fly with me very much, especially when you're talking about a military mindset. So that was a little disappointing. It was a little cliche, but again, I can excuse that because overall, I think the script writing was pretty good. So let's talk about the performances in this. Andy Serkis as Caesar is amazing. I am just blown away with the amount of emotion and the amount of realism that is portrayed by this particular actor. I think Steve Zahn did a really good job as Bad Ape as well. I think his performance was really good. Really, you're looking at actors and actresses who are in these electronic suits, and they are portraying and playing these roles. And it is stunning to see them, the way that they portray the role, the way that they interact with each other, and the emotion that they're still able to convey. I think it was a great performance. Woody Harrelson did a great job. I am always impressed with his performance in any film that I see him in. He has been doing this for a while, and it is pretty easy for him to get into a certain character. He's played a lot of different characters, and he always commands, the center whenever he is in a particular role. I think he did a great job as the Colonel. I think he conveyed some of that military mindset, even, towards the end, of the film, when he was not saying anything, when he didn't say any words. You knew exactly what was going on. You knew exactly what he was trying to convey. So what is the theme of this film? What was it that the film was trying to convey? When I watched this film, when I watched War for the Planet of the Apes, it's very close in lines with the first two themes of the first two movies. You had someone who lived a certain life, Caesar, at the very beginning, and something happens that drastically changes that. In this one, Caesar went from being the idealist that he was to becoming dark. And it was a place that he journeyed, and he accepted, he embraced it. He did not want to become Kava from the previous film, but that was what was haunting him. He killed an ape in the last film, and it hardened him because, if anything, he cares for apes. And Woody Harrelson and all the humans, they do not. And his contact with them, what occurred with them, it drove him to become the person that he was. Also, you're talking about oppression. You're talking about the viewpoint that humans have of the apes. And they are different species. You're talking about fear of one species taking over another. And what does that do to you? What does that do to individuals? It also shows that nothing is permanent. What Caesar wanted and what he wanted to do was remain in the same place and just exist hidden away from human beings. It wasn't able to happen. He couldn't do it, and there were things that he had to do in order to solidify safety for his apes. So putting all those things together, I come up with a composite score of a 3.35. This was a very enjoyable film. I know there's been a lot of hype, a lot of rave about the film. I think it was a good film. I don't think it was the best out of the three. I think the first one was probably the best out of the three. It did keep me entertained the entire time. Even though it did run a little bit long, I would compare War of the Planet of the Apes to the last Lord of the Rings film, where it was a good film, but since they were tying up so many loose ends, they decided to focus on certain things and kind of cheese out some things that didn't necessarily nest well with me. I could look over that. I don't think it was a big minus. It was a very, very small minus, and it still allowed me to watch the film and enjoy it. Well, boys and girls, that's all I've got. Let me know what you think, and until next time, peace.